Hey, folks, it's Dave back here. Little chat going on here tonight. I'm not going to be too long because I do have to work tomorrow morning, but a couple things I wanted to talk about here. As you know, earlier tonight, I was unboxing some baseballs. I got a couple of payoff pitch seasons in. Again, that's kind of my thing right now is payoff pitch. I've been enjoying playing that a whole bunch, actually. And I'm just kind of setting up the chat room here as I like to do. So hopefully we're good to go. I think we are. And so, what I wanted to do, alrighty, is have a little chat here, and maybe you guys can answer the question for me as I go. I'm going to check out my new scene. What do you think about this? I'm going to try this right here. Whoop, there we go. What do you think about that? And here's my question that I'm asking myself, and that if you guys want to chime in here, why is hockey not my favorite game to play? Okay. Why is it? Why is, I'm the hockey guy. Everybody jokes about, Dave's the hockey guy in the community and, Mr. Hockey and the whole bit. But why is it that hockey really is not my favorite game to play? And I've been just kicking that around here about like what to do with that. As Philip comes by, thanks for coming by, bud. There's Philip and David making you want to buy payoff pitch. Payoff pitch is fun. It really is. It's a little strat and a little app. It's a little bit of everything. It really is. I think it works really well. I like it. Like I say, I've had issues with it in the past trying to get the flow of how everything moves. But now I think I got it now. This is my third go around with payoff pitch, and every time I go back to it, I buy a couple more seasons because I just really like it. And Barbara comes by. Thanks for coming by, Barbara here. And Philip says he thinks it's line changes. That's something I had not really thought about. Line changes, and that might be because if I think about it, well, that's a big reason why I don't play basketball. Because I don't know anything about basketball. I don't know how to sub in. I don't know who's playing against who. So for me, I don't play a lot of basketball because that's one thing I don't know about is basketball. But the line changes, that's interesting to say that because when you got to change players in basketball, I have no idea. Hockey, I have an idea how to change the lines, but it is a pain. When I play, you see me when I play Appa or Hockey Bones, and I got to change lines and flip, 10 cards. I get it done pretty quick, and for me, it doesn't bother the flow of the game. At least I don't think so. But yeah, that's an interesting one. That might be on the maybe not one of the top reasons, but maybe one of the reasons. Yeah. So changing lines, that could be it. That's a good one, Philip. Oh, Ovechkin tied him tonight. Okay, I was watching that, David. I saw that he pulled one in one. I had no idea he tied it, so I'll have to check out some of the highlights later. But I saw that Gretzky was in Washington tonight, and he did tie him. That's pretty neat. What if he were to get the hat trick? Hope it's not an empty netter. That would be sour if he got the empty netter to win. I want a good goal, And Philip says, that's why I choose Stone Cold, so we don't have to worry about it. Yes, there are a few games. Stone Cold shootout, some of the final score games from Downey. I think the Grant Fines Quick Deck 49 Quick Decks Hockey, the one that he's going to show me how to play. I think that's another one that you don't have all the individual cards, so you don't got to change lines. So yeah, the anything with a team card is going to be a heck of a lot easier. So you're exactly right with that. Jimmy B comes by and says, I think he hit it on the head. I would say that this is probably why hockey is not my favorite game to play, because it's hard to replicate the real thing on the table. I think that's the reason right there. So Jimmy's the winner. Winner, chicken dinner. I just think that just because I've been a hockey fan all my life and I followed it, watched so much of it, I'm involved in it. It's kind of my job. It's my job to do play-by-play. It's my job to run a league. I actually have played it at a very low level, but I have played it, and I think that's it. You just can't. How did you word it? You can't replicate the real thing on the table. I think that's what it comes down to. And I would say that's it. I mean, the line changes are another good one. There's a couple other reasons too that we'll go over here, but I think that's it. Is that you just you hockey's just such a hard game to replicate. Even Action PC and Strat PC, and even Inside the Crease PC is probably the closest to replicating a real game, and I've said that before, so that's no surprise. When you get the block shots and then the corner battles and the whole bit, I love how the PC does it. I'm not a big fan of how the cards and dice version does it. I just find it's a little clunky for me to do all the math. But yeah, when you go to Inside the Crease and it's check for a hit to knock the guy off the puck. If not, he gets the pass. Puck goes into the corner. It's the winger and the defenseman. Who has the higher number to get the puck? It really feels like more hockey than anything else. It's just too bad you can't simulate other games, because the only way to get results in that is to play the game. It takes about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes to play that game. And holy cow, it's, if you want to play a whole season of anything, it's tough. It's for me, it's impossible to do. So I just play a one-off, but I enjoy the heck out of that. That would be my go-to PC hockey game if the other games could be simmed and I could play along with it. But yeah, I think you're right on the head. It is some of the things that you guys have mentioned. David says that's how I feel about hockey. Don't know the game, but I know basketball. The funny thing is as Phoenix Knight chimes in, he says, I've had a love-hate relationship with hockey. Hockey's always been a bit of a mess on the tabletop, but a lot of fun when it flows well. I wouldn't say it's a mess, okay? I wouldn't say it's a mess. But of all the games I play, the major sports, I will say, and I could throw golf in there too, okay? And this is not a knock on anybody that's developed a game, okay? It's not a knock on anything. But if I'm just being honest about playing all these games, of all the major sports, hockey's the one that just you can't duplicate everything that it has. Now, there was one game, and they had a huge sale. It was FTP Sports, and I forget the name of the game now. And I was gonna get it because it was only like $10, and I saw the instructions, and it was just like, forget it, But that is the one game that duplicates hockey, from what I hear. It everything from there's a corner check, that the pass in front, you check to see if the guy is covered. So that is the one game that I think would duplicate hockey the best. However, I heard it's also a 3 or 4 hour game because it's so many things going on. You're checking so many things. So in that game I haven't played. I should have bought it. I should have spent the $20 and got it. At least gave it a try. But I know some people that got it, and it was just a big ice cream headache. And I was like, oh man, I just don't know if I want to go through that. But I think that's what it is that I just can't get anything on the table or on the computer to replicate an actual hockey game, because there's so many things that happen. So I mean, what is it? Hockey Bones does 20 seconds. APA does, what does APA do? 30 seconds. And Strat is what, 40 seconds or something like that? So you have all these different ways of like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds at a time. And so it's like lose puck or get the puck or get a shot or make a pass. Well, it's not a step-by-step process. It's kind of like, here's where we're starting. 20 or 30 seconds later or 40 seconds later, here's where the puck is now. And so there's all this stuff that happens in that 20, 30, or 40 seconds. A pass can be knocked away. It can bounce back to you. You can fall down. It can hit a skate. It can deflect to this guy. You can send it down the ice. They can send it right back. Guy has to clear the zone because of the delayed offside. So there's all this stuff that happens in hockey that never, ever happens on the tabletop. And so it's really hard to come up with a scenario. Like when you're playing, football or baseball, you can really visualize what happens on that play. With hockey, it's a shot. There's only so many things that can happen. It's a shot. It's a pass. It's a penalty, giveaway, or nothing. And you got to try to imagine all the other things in a hockey game that take place during that short time frame. And so for me, I think that's what it is. It just never can simulate it, And RJL comes by. Maybe it's how long it takes to play compared to baseball and other games. Hockey Bones plays very well, which is why his favorite. Jamie says, good topic. Well, when we're talking about the length of a game, football games, the full play football games, those are the 2 to 3 hour games for me. Maybe I can shave Solitaire Pro down to hour and a half, hour 45, but I don't like to rip through games. I like to play and have some fun, and I'm not trying to rip through anything. So, but with the hockey, I can do the hockey in a little over an hour, and I have fun with it. And I feel like I've experienced most of the game, but not all of it. And I think for me, as Duffer Man comes by, how do I say this here? When I was playing video games back in the day, way back in the day, but let's call it the Xbox and the PlayStation games, but they had the good graphics and the whole bit. No matter what hockey game I played, it never felt like a hockey game. Even a Sega and Genesis NHL 94, okay, really like that. It's one of my favorite hockey games. It was just arcadey. It was just slap shot off the boards. It's like everybody go to the net. You get the puck and you go to the net. There's never any setting it up, moving the puck around, tic-tac-toe passing, shot gets blocked over here. Even the newer hockey games, and I haven't really played a PlayStation hockey game in a few years, but even the last one, which all the good graphics and the whole bit, and you could do all the stuff I'm talking about, it still was get the puck and just go straight to the net. And that's all it was. And no matter how many times they really tried to make it feel like a hockey game, it never did, because it was your guy gets the puck and just go straight to the net and take a shot. Once in a while, you'd send a pass to get a one-time or something like that, but it was never come over the line, stop, drop it over to this guy, send it around the boards, battle over here. I could never get that to happen. And if they designed it to do that, again, I never could get that to happen. So for me, ironically, my favorite games to play for a while was actually basketball. And there was a couple of games on the Xbox 360 that I really enjoyed playing. And I don't know if it was NBA Live or if it was the 2K, but there was one of them, I want to say it was 2012 or 2014, or maybe even 2009. It was in that vicinity of late 2000s to early to mid 2010s. And there was one game that it was just basically pass and shoot. And when the guy had the ball, you could hold the button to see what his hot zone was and what his cold zone was. So if he had the ball and he's in the cold zone, you don't want to shoot from here, so you want to move it around and get him over here. And since I know nothing about basketball, to me that was fun. It was just pass, to this guy to try to get a layup, maybe a hook shot. It was easy to play. It just was super fun. And it probably, if someone was a basketball guy, would say this ain't basketball. But for me, not knowing any better, I enjoyed it. So I really enjoyed playing basketball in the video game because I had no idea what was going on in a basketball game. To me, it was just fun to pass the guy to here, find this open man, get it to this guy, take a quick shot, go up for the rebound and come the other way. I enjoyed it. I did. I played a lot of that basketball game and had some fun with it. I was terrible at it, but you put it on easy mode and you just have some fun. And I think Marv Albert was the announcer. I think he was the announcer in one of the games. But I enjoyed playing the basketball games because I had no clue what I was doing, and so I couldn't do anything wrong, and I didn't know if it felt like a basketball game. Hockey, though, being my sport, I have a hard time finding a game that I can play and feel like I played a hockey game. Certainly no video games. And even though they've tried, I know that they've tried, they've had corner battles and the whole bit, but with video games today, it's too many buttons for me. I couldn't do the basketball. I couldn't even do Madden. Just all the spins and stuff you do. And the last one was kind of neat because you press the button to pass and then you press another button to try to catch it. And if you could coordinate that, it was fun. But again, the coordination is not there anymore, not as I approach 60 years old. It's just not there. And it hasn't been there in 10 years, which is why I'm playing the games I'm playing now, because I can play them and I'm more relaxed. So the Madden I could never do a baseball video game. because the pitch would come in way too fast, and I could never tell. There was one game, I think it was MLB 12, that if you slowed everything way down, you'd have that split second to see the pitch, and then I could tell if it was inside or low or outside. But aside from that, baseball games, I just swing at every pitch because I could not tell where the ball was going. It could be way over my head, and I could never tell. Just I could never do a baseball game. Sometimes if I did it where the view was behind the pitcher, I had a better idea. But anytime I'm at the plate and I could see the ball coming in, I could never judge where it was going. So I didn't play baseball games, at least not like that. It didn't work. And football, again, Madden got a little difficult. My favorite football game was the 2K on the PlayStation, or the Xbox, the original Xbox, the 2K5. The 2K5 hockey, the 2K5 football. I bought the baseball, but haven't played it yet. And it's an older game, which is 20 years old now. 2005 was 20 years ago. Wow. Hang on a sec. I need to process that. 2005 was 20 years ago. Wow. Way to bring down the show, Dave. Way to bring down the show. Wow. Okay, let me come over here and process this. I need to process this 20 years ago. All right, enough of the Matrix. All right. Let me come back over here. Yeah, 20 years ago. But those are the funnest ones because I could play those. It was basically pass and shoot. There might have been like another button to do something. But when they introduced the skill stick and you got a list stick, I couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. So for me, I didn't enjoy playing hockey video games. Basketball games I did. And football games I did to a point. The older ones were fine when it was a simple version of Madden, or, again, the 2K5 I thought was one of the best football games ever. And I think who was on, Terrell Owens, I think, was on the cover of that one, I think. And then the baseball I could never play. But hockey was, I bought it every year, and I would play like one game and forget it. You know, actually was fun, though. One hockey game was super fun, and that was the 3-on-3 mode for the NHL, which I played a few years ago with a friend of mine. And it would be me and him with a computer guy, or me and him with a third guy, and we would play the computer. And it was just 3-on-3. So you didn't have to worry about changing guys. You were always the same guy, and you could pass to each other. And we just had a blast. Like, hey, I'm open. Send it to me. I'm going to shoot, get a rebound. And we had so much fun with that. So that was the last time I played and enjoyed it, was 3-on-3. I was like, man, I wish you could do like a season mode with this. But they only had tournaments. But that was fun because you could move it around, and it was very Sega Genesis-esque, if that's a word. So, yeah, so for me, I couldn't do it. And Carter Historical, well, he says, as a Canadian, it'd be against his culture to go against hockey, you know. But he likes the Stone Cold. Yeah. As D. Scott comes by, nice to see you, D, you know. And Tom comes in. And he says, I played for many years and officiated at the college level. I love the game. However, I have not found a cards and dice game that brings the speed and controlled violence to the tabletop. And he said, it's all about the lack of flow. I think that's a good point. Good point. And let me just change my brand here so I can get this up a little quicker. Hopefully that'll do it. Carter says, I played the crap out of my MVP Baseball 2005 at PS2. Yeah, that's the ones I was talking about. I love that one. Parallel League likes the Temco Bowl. Yep. And D. Scott started his Strat career 60 years ago this month. Good for you, man. Good for you. Good for you. And Target Field is 15 years old. Yeah, imagine that. I mean, that's just where we are, right? That's where we are. But yeah, so the video games, I could never do baseball because I could never hit the ball. It's like, why bother? There was one game, it was kind of an arcadey game for the PlayStation 4. And it was just a really goofy game with fat guys and skinny guys. And I could follow that pitch and hit it pretty well, but it was very arcadey. And they've come out with a version 4 now, and I forget the name of it. It's on Steam. I think it was like $40 on Steam. But they got away from the goofy guys. You could actually make Santa Claus and Colonel Sanders in the game, and it was just fun. You could just create some crazy people with some crazy stats or whatever. Um, but it was just easy to hit and it was fun and it was goofy. It just was goofy, and then it got real serious. I'm like, oh man, you got away from what made it fun to try to make a serious baseball game that we don't need. So again, that's the only one I could really play. David comes back here and says, the reason I couldn't play video game football games is the stats are way off. You got to have some accuracy. Well, that's the other thing about the football games is it was just go deep, go deep, go deep. It just was, that's all it was. And that's what people play video games for. They're not sitting here to really try to grind it down and, carry the ball a couple yards and set up the next play. Again, it's backyard ball that we play. And as much as they try to make it feel like a real game, no one's going to play it the real way. And through no fault of the game developed. So they got to develop the game around their audience, But getting back to the tabletop stuff, I think why I've embraced baseball so much here on the channel is the ease of use in a baseball game, where most of it is just the pitcher batter interaction, whereas you see what the result is. In fact, you don't even go pitch by pitch. You just, here's the result of the at-bat. So you can play baseball games, like someone said in the chat, really quick. You can fly through a baseball game. And not that you want to, but you can. Like I can play the APBA Basic, I don't know, what, 20, 25 minutes? And I play slow. Strat Basic the same way. Payoff pitch, I'm getting a little quicker at payoff pitch. I meant to time myself one time. But again, the thing with baseball, though, it really all depends on the game. And it's so true for many games. It depends on what happens in the game that you roll. So if you play a hockey game and you just get a couple of penalties and a couple of goals and the game moves on, you can do a game pretty quick. You start getting into all kinds of penalties and all kinds of goals, and you're going to sit there and figure out when this guy's out of the box and set up for the power play. Then the game drags on because you have all this muckety-muck going on. Same with baseball. You hit a round in an inning, and it's going to make the game a heck of a lot longer than if it's just going, 3 up, 3 down. Extra innings or something else. So the game itself can dictate how long it goes. But if you just took your average game per se, baseball plays the quickest. And I enjoyed my 70s and 80s baseball, and I'm expanding that. And I'm pretty proud of myself that I've picked up the 69 season with a couple of games, and I've been playing that a little bit and learning that. And I'm pretty happy that I've gone on the other end of 86, 87. I've kind of gone a little further with a couple of those seasons too. So it is kind of fun, expanding my wheelhouse, so to speak. But baseball I just took to because it's fun. And again, you get that pitcher batter, let me get it right, pitcher batter interaction. And the only time it really gets gummed up is when you start dealing with the base running, because every game does it a little bit different, and sometimes it's complex, and sometimes it's fairly simple, depending on the game. And sometimes there's many ways to do it, and you got to figure out which way you want to do it. And sometimes it just spells it out for you, like APBA Basic. But for the most part, it's an easy game to play. You pick it up, and again, it only gets a little complex when you have runners on base, and that's not all the time. Football, for the most part, I would say when I play a full play football game, it's pretty simple. You just call the play and you roll the dice or flip a card or look at a chart or whatever it is, and you get the result for that play. And football's pretty fun that way. I would say, if I had to guess, Philip likes the Stinger shit. Yep. Thank you, sir. It's all, I don't know what, I washed it. It's all like these little dots all over it, like it was washed with a sweater or something in the sweater. Look at it, it's all the white stuff on me. This is fresh out of the wash. I don't know what was in there, but I think the wife washed it. So she sometimes put these little pellets in there, and the little pellets don't always dissolve and they leave a residue. So I think that's what it was. But it's not so much, so like Dave said, it's not so much about the accuracy for some of the games. When I play football, again, I talk about that all the time. I just feel like I've played a football game. And it's a long game for me, but boy, it's so enjoyable. And I'm not saying that other games don't give me that feeling, but APBA stands out as the one game that I can sit down and, boy, I feel like I've watched some of my favorite teams play in the past. Again, because football wasn't as big as it was today, back when I was a kid. But boy, Sundays, especially in the winter, you go outside for a while in the morning, you play in the snow, or you get out on the pond and play some hockey, and you come home and you have some lunch on a Sunday or something like that, or you're snowed in, maybe it's, or maybe it's just a cold day, you don't want to go out, and you were just watching football, or weekends we were at my dad's house, or Sundays I think we were at my dad's house, and he would have football on and just sit there and watch it with him. And it's just, watching all the Patriots. And I went to a few games as a kid, and it was just fun, and got to know the players. And so I enjoy going back in my mind and playing these games. And that's what I do a lot with Dave's Classic Rewind, is I'll go back and I'll say, oh, I remember this game. I played the Baltimore-Detroit game. And that's the game that screwed the Patriots out of the playoffs because Detroit beat Baltimore. I don't know why they needed Baltimore to win, but it was some kind of a tiebreaker scenario, a strength of schedule, something, some technicality. And Detroit blocks a punt with like 10 seconds left and wins the game. It's like, huh? And so I played that game here because I remembered that game. I remember sitting there, let's go to New York. Oh, breaking news here in Baltimore as the Lions blocked the punt, recover in the end zone, and they go on to beat the Colts. I'm like, did that really just happen? But I remember it happening live, and I got to go play that game, and I had so much fun doing that Apple football game, just the onesie-twosie stuff. And I kind of don't get that from hockey. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy the hockey. I played, so I've replayed so many games here. We had the game that I forget the guy's name. We played the goalie that played one game in his career. We played his game and he won. That was fun. Good for him. I played some Stanley Cups here on the channel. And I've had my fun with hockey getting the results. But it still doesn't leave me satisfied that I've got the full hockey experience. Like I do with other games. Let's put it that way. Like I do with baseball and football, I feel like I've got the full game in, and I'm pretty happy with that. Whereas hockey, as much as I like Shootout and Stone Cold and all the other games I play, I just don't feel like I got a full hockey game in because there's so many little things that happens in hockey that you just can't put on the table. Number one is because it'd be boring. Okay, let's face it. It's too many offsides, or guys going offside, or waiting for the delayed call to get out of the zone, or there's a lot of stuff that happens in hockey that's boring. All right, as fast as it is and exciting as it is, if you watch a game, there's a lot of nothing that can happen too for many minutes at a time. Okay, maybe the modern game's a little bit better because it's a little faster. But if you ever go back and watch an old game on YouTube and it's just guys going up and down the ice and they get bumped off the puck and this guy brings it up, he's bumped off the puck, and there could be a lot of non-exciting moments in hockey. But that's why you watch it for. You watch to see who's going to make that one mistake, who's going to fall down on the play. So again, you're playing. Let's say you're playing Apple Hockey or Hockey Bones, and you roll the dice, you get a scoring chance. How did that scoring chance come about? And that's when you use your own imagination and you fill in the theater of the mind. But did the defenseman fall down? Was he trapped in the corner? Did he drop his stick? How did this guy's shot come about? And that never, and I get we're all here making this up in our mind, but when you play baseball and you got a ground ball to third, you're visualizing that. And with hockey, you got a shot on net. How did this happen? Was it a 2-on-1? Did the puck deflect to this guy? How did that all happen? And so it just kind of leaves me a little unsatisfied. And I think that's why, because I played hockey and I watched it the whole bit, and I just can't get that experience on the tabletop through nobody's fault. And I don't think anybody could create a game that you could capture everything on the table. And if you did, people probably wouldn't play it because it would have so many of those boring things. But it is nice to know how that shot came about. Or when you're playing Hockey Bones and you make a pass and the result goes to the same guy. Well, so he hangs on to the puck. So what happened on the play? Did he pass it up? Did it get knocked off a stick and then go to the other defenseman? The other defenseman just sends it back to him. Okay, start the play again. How did that all happen? And when you're playing the game, I guess you could try to make sense of it, but you really just want to flip the next card or roll the next dice and get on with the play and see what's going to happen. So with a full play football game, it's a full play game. When you play baseball, you get every at bat. and you see every out, every strikeout, every walk. And with hockey, you don't get all that. You do see all the shots in a lot of games, and you do see all the saves and the penalties for most games. But there's so much else that goes into a hockey game that, again, as a hockey fan and a hockey player and whatever, you don't get. And so, yeah, that's why, as much as I like to play them and I got a ton of seasons and a ton of hockey games, it's really, as I get back to, it's not my favorite game to play. And so that's why you see a lot more baseball on the channel and football, a little bit of basketball, and even golf. Okay, go back to golf. There's a handful of golf games that I got that it just makes you feel like that you're watching golf. You know, the History Maker Golf does a great job with that. It's not shot by shot, but it's kind of close to shot by shot. So you feel like that you've done the hole, and you can kind of make up things along the way, but you get enough of that. You get more out of that History Maker Golf on each hole than you do with any hockey game, really, as far as filling in the gaps, you know. So even golf does a good job of that. Trying to think, there's really no other major sports that I play. Is there anything over here on my list? No, I'm not really seeing anything over here. So, yeah, that's probably why. Now, let me see. Back to my chat room here. Okay, so Ovechkin didn't get the record, but a wild 3 minutes. Watch the highlights when I can. So he'll probably get it the next game, I would imagine. Okay. Let's see here. And you want to see the Jerry Glanville Pigskin football on the channel? Yes. I have some time coming up, and I'm going to be putting some old classic Sega video games here on the channel. We're going to see those here. We're going to have a fun time going back in history. I might even bring up some of the old Xbox and PlayStation games and put them on here for nostalgia's sake. Again, I'm not going to be a video game channel, but that was part of my past, so it deserves a spot here on the channel. And it's just kind of, you know, again, when I get Skyrim going, I'm going to play a little bit of that. Again, it's not going to be the video game channel, but I mean, that's part of the gaming that I do, and I like to show that off. And you never know. You never know what you might see. Them might be like, oh, that's interesting, you know, to watch for a few minutes, or maybe, hey, geez, I should go look for that game in a you know, a retro store or something like that. Fenner says, great topic. I like the hockey games, and football is my favorite sport to watch, but baseball is my favorite sports sim, bar none. So interesting to play, and the flow is great with most games. Yeah, baseball has that advantage. I think it does. I think baseball's really got that, the way baseball moves, and just because it's the one-on-one. You know, with hockey, there's 10 guys out there, and any of them could be involved in a play, or even more than one. And again, you know, if you miss coverage, if you don't pick up the guy and he gets around you, he gets a shot, you know, you've blown it, but you don't know that. Maybe with Strat a little bit when you try to intimidate. You don't intimidate. That means you get around the guy. So I guess in Strat, there's a couple things in there that might make a little bit more sense because you're making decisions. And Carter says that baseball was a mystery for him at first. And he played Baseball Mogul. I like, Baseball on the PC was, Baseball Mogul's fun. I might pick up the new one. And then Al got him into OOTP, and Pesky got him into PC Replay Baseball, which he loves now. Good. Well, at least you found something, you know. Oh, Triple G comes by here. Good to see you here, Triple G. He says, Appa football is what got me started as a kid with tabletop sports. That's a long time ago, 83 season. Yeah. Did they re-release that? Did they have that? I'm not sure if they have 83. They might have 83 done new. Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, that's right now. That's probably my. If I had a choice to play anything, and you gave me all day to play it, I'd probably do some Appa football. It just feels, you know, when I play these games, you know, as we all do probably, we want to go back in time and revisit something that was fun in our life, and we can just kind of ignore current day problems for a little while. And so go back in time, and where's my scene? Okay, we're gonna go back in time, right? We're gonna go back in time and play a game, and you know, get the Brian Sipes of the Cleveland Browns on your table. You know, that game I played with Montana and Steve Young, that was a fun one to play. So that's what we do. And so anytime I can go back in time and put a team like that on my table, it just brings me back to, better times, if you will, if that makes any sense. And let me see here. And Parallel says, I'm glad I come on. The Reds are getting shut out for the fourth night in a row. Oh, jeebus, I used to follow the Reds. Yeah, and not so much anymore. Where are we here in the chat room? Scott says, good to see you, Scott. Scott, I've missed you in my baseball field and streams. You were my strikeout king. You were the guy, telling me how many strikeouts we're going to get. That was a fun time. I missed that. And he says, what was it? Legends of Boxing and Glory Days Boxing really draws me in. It feels like I'm sitting ringside when I'm playing them. Yeah, I can imagine the boxing games would do that. Because it's like who's getting the advantage. There's a couple wrestling games that don't do too bad either. Because you're throwing guys in the ropes and you're hitting them and you're wearing them down. They don't stream very well because it's really all you into it. So it's anybody watching is probably not caring. But for you, it's good. There's a few games that play well for you. Todd, yeah, he hits it right on the head. Theater of the mind is hard with hockey and basketball and sometimes soccer. I think that's a good way to put it. I would say that's a great way to put it. Because, what's happening on the play? Because there's a lot happening on the play, and maybe, a guy gets hit and he hurts his arm and it slashes the other guy, and then, something's going on over here. There's always something going on with hockey. And when you just basically have, you roll the dice or flip a card and you get one of 5 things that can happen with that particular guy, sometimes everybody else, you don't know what they're doing. And there's so much that's missed. Maybe that's what it is. There's so much that's missing. But again, I asked the question, how would you put it in? How would you put in all the things that are missing to make it feel like that when you play baseball or football, how would you feel? With the football, too, let me just say this. If you're playing, well, I like to say app is my game of choice, or even Solitaire Pro, that, and even the football game from Grant, the 49, now I got to look at the name of it. I'm sorry, Grant, On the Turf. On the Turf. I enjoyed playing that. It was the quick version of that. Kind of quick. And I had this one play. I played 76 Tampa Bay and 76 Minnesota. Now, they didn't play in real life, but I said, I'm going to put these teams together in Minnesota. And Minnesota was beating them up, 14-0, 17-0. And then that's the play that Tampa threw the bomb from midfield, and there was only a chance of 1 to catch it. So when I flipped the card, every single result said catch, no matter what number it was. And that's probably the only card in the deck that the guy would have made the catch. And then there was a chance to knock it away, and I rolled, and I just missed knocking away. So everything fell into place on that play, on the touchdown pass. And I could visualize the play, just streaking the guy down the sideline, and just the quarterback going back and just throwing it up as he got nailed, and then the defenseman just missing it, and the guy hauls it in for a 50-yard touchdown pass, and it's like stunning the crowd in Minnesota that this expansion team could do that. And that's the only score they got. They lost, 24-7 to 27-7. But I visualized that play. And you can do that with football, whether it's, Apper or Solitaire Pro. It's like, okay, Tony Dorsett, 4 yards. So you can say, well, he took it to the right, spun around, and got 4 yards. On some of the games, with Grant's game and with Appa, you get a good roll, and you're like, oh, he has some daylight, And I think with Solitaire Pro too, you get quote the good roll or the good flip, and then when you go to the next step, it's like, oh, 2 yards. It's like, well, so you can visualize he gets a block, turns the corner, and maybe he lost his footing and fell, or maybe someone come and made a play or something. So the opening closed real fast, or he fell, or whatever it is. But you can visualize the play with the football games. Now with second season, the book kind of gives you a little mini description, so you have an idea what happens there. Is the linebacker this? Well, he makes a great play at the line of scrimmage, or he doesn't make a good play, he falls down, or whatever it is. So second season gives you that flavor. They give you the play-by-play. Some of the other games, some of the other football games, you got to fill it in, but you can because you've seen so much football. You have an idea what probably happened on the play. And same with baseball. It's a hit into the outfield. The guy trying to, take the extra base or here's the throw at the plate or whatever it is. You visualize that. Sometimes, you get a guy on second and you hit it to the third baseman. Some games the guy can't go to third, and some games he does. And sometimes it all depends on, maybe you got to flip the dice, flip a card, roll the dice to see if he does get there. And sometimes that's half the fun too is, okay, so it's hit the third. How does the guy on second get to third if it's hit to the third baseman? Well, maybe he hit it off the plate and went up in the air. And the third baseman comes charging in, right? And his only plays the first because he's running towards home plate. And this guy, there's no one at third, so he gets there easily. Or maybe it's a hit into the hole and the third baseman goes across and dives and gets it before it gets into the hole. That's going to allow the guy to get to third base too. So there are a few ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be hit right at the third baseman and look the guy back. So there are some ways that anybody could really get to third base. But you visualize that. You visualize that play. And that's what's great about baseball and football. And that's why I like to play them so much because you visualize that play, but you don't have to really come up with 30 seconds of action like you do with hockey to visualize the play. If it's hit deep in the center field and the guy's going to tag, the guy's going back, makes the catch at the warning track, but he's too deep and he's not going to get the runner at the plate. Or it's hit and it says the runner on third does not score. He stays there. Well, it's hit in the left field, shallow left. The guy makes the catch, and there's no way the guy can tag up. So it's a lot easier to visualize football and baseball than it is hockey, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I'm making any sense right now. And so that's what Todd said. Theater of the mind is hard with hockey and basketball because, again, there's so much kind of happening. You get 10 guys running around, and I know football's got 22, but it's really, the play moves and everyone goes to the ball. David C., for me, free-flowing hockey games and basketball games are very hard to replicate on the tabletop because of the constant motion. That's a good point. Football and baseball have a tremendous amount of downtime. Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. Right there, David, is when you have the baseball play, there's the hit, you have 5 seconds of action, maybe 10 if it's something crazy going on. And with football, again, plays take 5 to 10 seconds. So it just everything happens so fast. And then you're done and you're reset. With hockey, it's constant motion. Basketball settles down a little bit when they come up the court with the ball and whatever, and they pass it around. But hockey's like bing, bing, bing. It's moving. You have the puck 1 second, you dump it in, they get the puck, they play it out the center, it's tipped back in your zone, you have it right back. You get knocked off the puck, they steal the pass, misses, goes through the crease, the other team gets it back. So much is happening in that 30 seconds that you don't get to see in the hockey game. But again, would you want it all? Would you want to see all that? What would the game look like if everything looked like that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it would look like. And Phillips liked it. Yeah, I played that a lot. I played the 2005 golf a lot. Yep, I did. Mike in the truck comes by. Hoping the football worked out for you. I know you had a bad experience. Not a horrible experience, but it was not a good opening day for you, so to speak. But give the game a chance. The games are really good, and you just got to kind of deal with, someone trying to do it by themselves. That's all I'm going to say. Alan comes by. Hi, Alan. ABBA tried to simulate every minute of action in basketball and created the worst tabletop game failure of all time. That's a really good point. That is a really, really good point. Is someone tried to do that. Someone tried to do that game, and what happened? Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted to play it. They joke about how people are still playing the first half of their first basketball game 20 years later. So again, is that what we want? Do we want all that in it? Do we want to feel like we just did a whole game with all the everything? I don't think we do. But again, I get back to my question here is why is hockey not my favorite game to play? And it's because we can't simulate everything. And I don't know if I'd want to. I don't know if I'd want to. That game there, the FTP hockey game, I forget what it was called now. But it's like, do I want to check every single thing in the game? Maybe I would. Maybe I'd play. It's like, man, this is great. I feel like it's taken me 3 to 4 hours to play a game, but boy, I really do feel like I've been a part of a game. Maybe it would be awesome. Maybe I'd love it. I don't know. To me, I didn't like the cards. If they would fix the cards and not make them so flamboyant that I got a headache, I might like it a little bit better. And maybe I would have given it a try too. But I'm not going to do it like that. Now back to the comments here. Todd says, I turned to triple play during a head-to-head with my strat group. That was fun. Getting that with other people at the table. What a feeling. Yeah, it was. That must have been cool. And Triple G says that David C. is correct, you know. Yep. And yeah, he was talking about the downtime, and that allows you to build up the flow on the tabletop. Yeah, I would agree with that. And David T. says, National Pastime Next Generation Plus Board Reader is my go-to baseball game right now. I've never played that one. I've seen people play it, but I haven't played it, you know. And Sean brings up a good point here. Sean says, the pitch by pitch in Action PC baseball was too easy. I was able to draw a bunch of walks and get great counts, which led bad players to hit way better than they should be able to. There's a couple of baseball games that do that. Action PC, Baseball Mogul. I think you can play pitch by pitch if you want. I think you can even work the pitch around. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't played Baseball Mogul in a while, but I think that you can actually really try to paint the corners in that game. If that's the game I remember, that you can, it's not just hit the pitch button, is that you can like try to aim the pitch a little bit. That was kind of fun, but yeah, now you're talking a long game. You really gotta like a game to go pitch by pitch with baseball, because now you're talking 2 to 3 hours to play that game, rather than just getting the bat, resolved with one roll or something like that. But I don't know if OTP does the pitch by pitch. But I think Baseball Mogul did. I think I tried it for like an inning or two. And you know what I did is I tried it when I was pitching. So I would just resolve the bat when I was hitting with one swing. And then when I was pitching, I would try to pitch to a few batters. That was kind of fun. Alan also says, I think the closest compromise between showing action while staying playable is Hockey Blast, complete with the lulls. Well, Hockey Blast does, what Stone Cold and Shootout do is you get right to the action and what's going to happen. So you roll the dice, you figure out how much time has passed. We're going to stop right here and take a look at things. And sometimes it's nothing. Whether you're playing, whatever game you're playing, Strat, Bones, APA, and, Hockey Blast. Hockey Blast has the lulls. They're not called lulls in the other game, but, lose to the opponent, that's basically a lull. Pass to the same guy on your team, that's a lull. Icing, that's a lull. So you get a lot of that in the hockey games. And Hockey Blast does, again, they're kind of like a Shootout and a Stone Cold. We're going to stop the clock and take a look here. The full play games, you get the icings and just the face-offs and the face-off in the neutral zone and whichever. And they try. I mean, don't get me wrong. I enjoy playing the hockey games. I'm not trying to dump on the games. I enjoy playing the hockey games. It's just the question here was, why is it not my favorite game to play? Because and people talked about here, you just can't replicate the game because of all the moving parts. Whereas football, it's start and stop. Baseball, it's start and stop. Basketball, you come up the court. There's some fast breaks going on, but every now and then it will settle down and you set up the shot. So there's a little bit of start and stop, and then inbounds in the ball and the whole bit. And in hockey, it's go, go, go until there's a whistle. And, the other day I played that game, and who was it? Robbie Ftorek, okay, for the, was it the Stingers? I think it was the Stingers. And he scored back-to-back goals. And according to the clock, it was like 11 seconds apart or something like that. So Robbie Ftorek scores a goal. We go to center ice for the face-off. He wins the face-off. He gets the puck. He gets a shot on goal, and he scores again. And so now you got 11 seconds to figure in. So, okay, so he took the face off, the puck bounced to him. He went in. Did he split the defense, go around the defense, or was this a long shot that just beat the goalie and fooled him? But he scored back-to-back goals. That was kind of fun. I enjoyed that. I really did. I really enjoyed him scoring those back-to-back goals. But again, you got to fill in your own version of what happened. Again, you kind of think in the internet. I don't know. I'm trying my different screens here. I don't know if you guys like them. This is my original screen I went to here. I'm trying the other one here, this one here. Not that I want to keep making you guys dizzy, but I'm just kind of showing off a little bit here with some of the things that it can do. But I like this one here. It's got the little motion in the background. Sometimes it's fun to look at rather than just looking at me, so to speak. So any more thoughts on this? And again, I wasn't trying to, bring anything down tonight. I'm just kind of think, why do I enjoy the football probably the most, and then the baseball the second most, and then hockey, as far as trying to get a game experience, it seems like hockey's the one that I get I don't want to say the least enjoyment, but you like the red one? I'll go back to the red one in a minute. I get the least amount of, I don't want to say satisfaction, but when I play football and baseball, especially a long football game, and baseball games are long anyway, you play every batter, you feel satisfied. I guess satisfied is it. It's like a Snickers bar. You feel satisfied. You have that Snickers bar and you feel like, okay, I'm satisfied. And when I play a hockey game, it's like, yeah, that was a fun game. We had a couple of goals, some big saves by the goalies, this and that. But there's still so much that I didn't get to. I just so much in that game I didn't get to. And so Barbara likes the red one, so we'll go back to the red one. What do you think? Here we go. There we go. We'll go back to the red one. How about that? But again, like somebody brought up, it's like, do you want to have a basketball game where it takes forever and you're doing every single thing? Is it playable? That's the other thing. Is it playable? Well, not really. At that point, it's not a playable game because it just is. And like somebody else said, who was it? Was it Ron Emk? Or was it it was him and the doctor was watching the Apple Golf videos, and one of them said, "Keep in mind, it's a board game." And he said, "This is how we do it." So he was talking about the shot approaching the green, how you go here and you go here. It's like, this is not how the shot would go in real life. But to get it from point A to point B, you got to play it like it's a board game. So, and I guess that's the bottom line here with some of these games that we play. It's like it's a board game. It's dice and cards and charts, and that's what we use. So it's going to be as realistic as dice and cards and charts can be. And the idea is to get you results that you would think were accurate, or at least close enough to make it believable. But yeah, you just can't duplicate everything that happens in a game, because you're supposed to use your imagination, is what it is. So what are your thoughts on this? I'm kind of wondering here. I got to zip out here because I do need to get to bed and get some sleep because I got to be up early tomorrow. So, and David said above the rim. Now, is that the one that I have? No, I have Hoops PC. That's the one I'm thinking of. I have Hoops PC. But he says above the rim is one of the best basketball sims I've ever played. It's free and has every season back to 54, and also has college, ABA, and women's. I think Ron showed me that one time. Is that the one that's in, like, was it Excel or something similar to Excel? I think Ron showed me that, and I didn't play much of it. But yeah, I heard that was pretty good. Alan says, actually, when Apple Hockey has 3 or 4 consecutive intercepted by, that seems highly realistic to how a real game feels. So my take on this is absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, that gets kind of boring when it's just intercepted by. It's like, okay, now this guy has the puck, and now the left wing has the puck, and then ends up in the corner with the defenseman. And it is kind of boring. And that's one of the reasons why there's a couple of hockey games that Ron doesn't like, because it's just like pass, 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 pass. He goes, damn, I want something to do besides pass the puck. And it's like, Well, sometimes that's what it is, and it might not be, 2 minutes of straight passing, but this Gretzky has the puck and he passes to Messier. Now, it didn't take him 30 seconds to make that pass, but in the game, Gretzky has the puck. After he did what he did, the puck ended up over on the stick of Messier. Now Messier sends it over to Coffey at the point. At some point, the puck went to Coffey. Does it mean that it went directly to Coffey from Messier? No, Messier went to Gretzky. Maybe he had to poke it back to the point to keep it in the zone or whatever. I mean, again, all these things happen in hockey, but you're just kind of getting the end result with a lot of these full-play hockey games. But you're missing stuff. And that's what I was just talking about today. I was just thinking about, why is it, even, and again, going back to the video games that I talked about, probably about half hour ago, I prefer basketball video games, or at least the older basketball video games, because it's just pass and shoot, and you don't have to worry about anything. It either goes in or it doesn't. And the hockey games, it's just get the puck and go to the net and shoot. It doesn't feel anything like a hockey game. And no one plays it like a hockey. Even if they tried to design it to say, okay, go in the zone, set it up, drop it behind the net, cycle in the corner. No one does that. It's just get the puck and go to the net, and it's just score the goal. And nothing feels like real hockey. It just doesn't. So the video games were never my favorite. I would play them because they were hockey. But realistically, there was some. I preferred the basketball because I didn't know anything about basketball, so I couldn't do anything wrong, and I didn't know what basketball felt like. Football I knew, and baseball I knew, and hockey I knew. So, and David says that yes, that above the rim was Excel. So I don't know if I played it. I think I watched Ron play it, but I haven't done much with it. So that's the one thing. So that is that. So if you're watching this, if you have any thoughts on that, again, I'm going to go back to my question here is, why is hockey not my favorite game to play? And again, probably all the things we talked about here, we just can't get everything in a hockey game into a tabletop game or even a computer game. And if we did, would it be even fun? Would it be playable? Would it just be an absolute disaster to try to play a hockey game that made it feel like everything was involved in the game? Because there's so many little things that happen that are completely boring. But those are the things, when I'm doing my play-by-play, and the puck and the pass, it's behind so-and-so, and it's intercepted by the defenseman. Well, again, it's intercepted by the defenseman. How do you get the puck? Well, because the pass was behind the other guy. Well, you don't get that when you're playing the game. You just get the end result, and you got to fill it in yourself. And sometimes there's a lot of thinking to fill it in. And I don't want to be bothered. This guy has the puck. Let's move on. Let's get the game going here. Let's get to the good stuff. That's what we do. Let's get to the good stuff, and that's where the highlight games come into play very well. So anyway, so that is that. So looking for your feedback here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I did my unboxing earlier of some payoff pitch seasons, and that went pretty well. I got 84 and 76. I'm hoping to jump into some 84 and get back into that project. I'll probably, like I say, if I get back into the project, I'll do some payoff pitch and some app and some strat. Just mix it up and just have some fun so I can get some things on the table here. That's what I want to do with that stuff there. This year's all about getting things on the table. And so far, I've been off to a pretty good start now that work's backed off a little bit, So it's been fun playing again, all the different things. And now what's Sean got to say over here? Hockey has so much to do. Yep. When he plays action PC hockey, he's constantly changing lines and changing on the fly, and it's kind of busy. Maybe that's why I don't play it so much. I find with the action PC hockey, it's fine. Like I got the sliders adjusted, I think, to where they work pretty well. And yeah, it's mostly changing lines and deciding, do you want to pass or shoot in that game? But again, what other options are there? Sometimes you get the icing that's automatic. Sometimes you get something else that's automatic. I'm not sure. But and the line changes again with the cards and dice version. It can slow the game down a little bit. I agree with that. Thanks for coming by, Barbara. And Sean says he's played some payoff pitch tonight, and he's worried about the game running cold. Never had that feeling before. I don't find that to be the case. I think when I first started playing it, I did feel that way. It's like, yeah, there's way too many outs in this game. Just it was so easy to get an out. But as I've played a lot of games, I find I feel like I got a baseball game in. I really don't feel. The only thing I would say, and I've said this before, payoff pitch running, and I'm glad I kind of figured out the running, because when I was comparing the running to the fielder's arm and the whole bit, it just felt like it was impossible to take the next base. It just, you had to roll just exact to get the person into the next base. So I thought running was way too hard in payoff pitch. I still kind of do to a point. But now I use kind of this generic chart that was on their website to spell out when guys take extra bases, and if the runner is a 7, this happens, and if you hit from the wheelhouse. Since I factored in that, I haven't had to really worried about. Haven't had to really worry about the difficulty in running in the game. Okay, whereas season ticket, I think it runs hot on the running. I think it's really easy to run. Now I know if you look at the numbers, it says differently, but you really got to roll poorly in season ticket to not advance. Whereas in payoff pitch, it's the opposite. You really got to roll poorly to advance. I mean, you got to roll some really weird numbers. So, that's what I thought about those two games. One runs hot running, one runs cold running. Since I adapted the new running procedure for payoff pitch, that's and one of the options, I find it to be a lot better, and I don't find it to be nearly as I don't find the running to be nearly as cold. So that's what I got to say about that. Yeah, I know what you mean about the runs. No, I haven't had that. No, I've not had any issues. What was the last game I played here? I don't know if I have it over here somewhere. I can't find it. But I've been getting, where was it over here? Did I put it? I played so many games. What was the last game I played? No, I got one of the games I played here. It was 6-2, and 10 hits and 8 hits. So I got 18 hits in the game. No, I'm not finding that. At least I'm not finding that anyway. And Pete says, the designer of Pursue the Pennant is absolutely right. Free-flowing games like basketball and hockey are just really hard to replicate. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think that's kind of what we're talking here, is that, you just can't get it. And again, would you want it? Would you want a hockey game that took 4 hours and did everything? Probably not. I think we're happy with where we are, and we'll accept where it is right now. Again, you need to have playability. You need to have speed in the game. You need to have it move along, and it can't be so difficult that you're checking every single 5 seconds. So. Yeah, I would agree with that. Banking on I still love shootout hockey. I do too. Sometimes when I play a game of shootout hockey, it really does feel like a game. I've played so many games that you could feel the ebbs and flow of the game in shootout hockey, with just the scoring chances and the goalies making the incredible saves. So I've had so many experiences with shootout hockey that, boy, I felt like I played a full game. I really did. So it does a good job of getting the highlights of the game. And sometimes it's more than just highlights. You really do feel like the goalie made a couple of saves to make the difference, and he took away a rebound, or the team's peppering the goalie with shots, something like that. So so shootout is still fantastic game. So that is that. So thanks everybody for coming by. Just something to think about over here. And we'll see what goes on tomorrow. I do got to work tomorrow. Let's see how the day goes. Let's see if I can get on tomorrow night and get something here on the channel. We'll see. Randy comes by. Highlight Maker Hoops gives you Sports Center highlights version of basketball, which is good enough for me. Yeah, that was on my list. I didn't pick it up on Black Friday, but that was on my list, and it is on my list. And that's one game I do want to give a try. Again, I'm not a huge basketball guy, but every now and then I get a basketball itch, like the play of the game basketball. I really like that. It's more of a math equation and finding the final score than it is anything else, but it's still fun to play. And the other one I want to get is Joe Bryan's Bank Shot Basketball. I want to look into that as well. So there's a couple of basketball games I like to check out. I have a couple of seasons of Strat basketball. I like the Strat Basic basketball. I played that years ago, and I really liked it. Ron likes it too. Ron thinks it's the Strat's best game, and I played it on the table, and I've really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun with it. So maybe we'll get that going again too. So anyway, I'm Dave here. Hope you enjoyed things here. And I did see that. Yeah, the guy said that Ovi tied the record. Yep. And I'm reading Deadball. Very interesting. Being able to recreate teams. I haven't played it yet. I haven't played it yet either. But I did hear Ovi tied it up. So I got to see when Ovi's next game and see if we can wrap this up before the season ends. And at some point, I'll check out Here's the Pitch. At some point, I will. I'm not sure if I want to dive into too many new games here. Because I got my core baseball games that I like. I got my core 4 or 5 games I really like. But I'm not opposed to trying something else. I'm really not. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming by, and we'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.